Why does some silence feel heavier than words? Imagine a room packed with laughter, cousins ripping open shimmering wrapping paper, their faces glowing with joy. One waves a glittering pink tablet, another jumps excitedly with a remote-controlled drone. But in the middle of all that chaos, there's a girl sitting quietly on the edge of the couch, legs swinging, eyes fixed on the back door. It's like she's watching a day she'll never be part of. Her smile whispers hope, but her heart is shrouded in something darker, something she can't quite name. Why does it hurt so much to be invisible even when everyone's smiling? The scent of pine and holiday treats hangs in the air, but beneath that warmth is a hollow ache. She's waiting, a question hanging in her mind, silent but loud. Am I enough? When the last present is handed out and she's still empty-handed, she whispers, "Did Grandma forget me?" No one answers. No one questions that sharp, blunt truth. Her words cut through the room. No apologies, no excuses, just the cold fact. She's adopted. Not really family, Margot says. Simple, unfeeling. The kind of words that make your chest tighten and your stomach turn. Maya hears it all. The rejection, the categorization. She doesn't cry. She nods, as if that explains it all, then folds her hands in her lap, trying to make herself smaller. Disappear, maybe, or pretend she's okay. And I feel my world shift. There's a punch to my gut, a heavy silence that follows. I want to shield her, to shout, to do anything. But I'm frozen, useless. Everyone else? They glance away, shift their eyes. Caleb, my protector, sits beside me, his jaw clenched tight, his gaze glued to Margot. But even he says nothing. We stay, we eat, we pretend. Maya doesn't mention it again. She bottles it up, the hurt buried beneath that quiet resilience. Later, Caleb opens a manila folder from his suitcase, eyes dark with something unsaid. He mutters, "I brought it just in case. I hoped I wouldn't need to show her." And then, just after midnight, he leaves alone, with that folder in his hand. I never ask what's inside. It's the secret they all hide, the unspoken truth hanging over us. Sometimes I wonder, how many of us carry these silent wounds? How many of us wait for a sign, a word, a moment to finally be seen? To know we're enough. There's a quiet story in each of us, waiting to be written. The question is, will we ever find the courage to speak it out loud? Last Christmas, I didn't have to say much. Whatever was in that envelope, whatever Caleb whispered to her, she didn't laugh. She didn't cry. She just stared, silent. The next morning, she never called me not family again. That was the last time she left a piece of herself behind. The house was decked out like a dream. Fireplace crackling, matching pajamas, cider bubbling on the stove. Kids darting around like they owned the place. Margot, my mother-in-law, went all out. Her Pinterest board come to life. Cloth napkins folded into trees, cheese slices labeled with tiny chalkboard sticks. She's the kind of woman who believes things should be perfect, everything in its place. I've been married to Caleb for 10 years. We met in college, him, quiet and intense, always listening, never needing to be loud. He's the kind of guy who seems to see straight through you, knows what's needed before you do. When I fell for him, I also fell for this dream, building a family with someone who got love, who truly understood what it's supposed to look like. But it wasn't easy. Years of struggle, countless late nights, fighting tears, holding each other in the dark, silent. 4 miscarriages, 2 failed IVF attempts. It felt like hope kept slipping through our fingers. So we turned to adoption. It wasn't our backup plan. It was everything. When we met Maya, she was 5, quiet and watchful. I remember the moment she slipped her tiny fingers into mine during a walk in the park. No words needed. That tiny gesture said everything. I knew. She was ours. She's this shining light, painting animals, naming squirrels, laughing at her own jokes, even when no one else gets them. But then, Christmas Day. Something shifted. That envelope unlocked secrets I never saw coming. Whatever Caleb said to her, whatever she read, it changed everything. And the next morning, she didn't call me not family again. She never did. Now I find myself wondering, what's really behind the silence? Margot's dismissiveness? Caleb's guarded eyes? Or is it something darker? A secret they've all been hiding? Something that could tear this fragile family apart if it ever comes out? And I ask myself, how many of us carry these wounds? How many of us wait for that one sign, that one moment to finally be seen, understood, to break through the silence and find peace? There's a quiet story in all of us, waiting for the moment to be written. The question is, will we have the courage to speak it out loud? Or will we keep hiding in shadows, pretending everything's fine? Because sometimes the truth is the only way to finally find your way home. The night of the family gathering, the Christmas tree cast a warm, golden glow over the room, lights flickering softly. Laughter echoed, pine scent filling the air. We all sat around, unwrapping presents, trying to ignore that quiet weight that sometimes lingers beneath holiday cheer. Then Caleb subtly reaches for a device he'd hidden, secretly set up earlier. The room falls dead silent the moment the playback starts. A faint voice crackles through, Margot's unmistakably, her words cut like ice. "She's just the new girl," she whispers, dismissive. "Doesn't matter." Her tone so flat, like she's talking about a stranger, not her own niece. The glow of the Christmas lights dims just a little. Eyes widen, breaths hitch. Maya's face, eyes wide with confusion and shock, waits. And in that instant, everything changes. The family's perfect image shatters. The truth hits harder than turkeys and decorations. Margot's words expose a lonelier, darker side. What have all these years been hiding? How long has that dismissiveness been boiling beneath? Suddenly, the room feels different. Heavy. Raw. Caleb's jaw tightens. Maya's tiny fingers clutch her teddy tighter, silent tears brimming. In that moment, the illusion of family unbreakably close crumbles. You wonder, how many secrets do families hide? How many walls are built to keep pain out? And yet, maybe this truth is what finally pushes everyone to confront what's real. What's been felt underneath all the politeness. Fear, rejection, longing. That one moment of honesty, however painful, might be what it takes to finally face the scars. Because the question isn't just about one family's secret. It's about all of us, waiting to be seen, longing for the courage to break free from shadows, and finally, truly be home. The house still smelled like pine and cinnamon, warm enough to make you forget how cold outside was. I sat on that familiar worn sofa, fingertips trembling as I gently traced the edge of a gift tag, meant for someone else. Voices and laughter blurred into the background, like a soft hum that didn't quite reach me. My eyes were fixed on the empty spot beneath the glittering tree where a present should have been. The crinkled gold wrapping paper felt rough against my palms, and suddenly that ache, like a sharp tug, hit hard. Then, out of nowhere, a tiny giggle echoed behind my grief, bright and real. It was just a flash, something small, a crack in the hurt. But that shimmer of hope reminded me. Belonging sometimes hides in the smallest moments. It's in the unspoken. It's in the quiet spaces where love might still be waiting. Only if we dare to notice. The house was thick with Christmas cheer, laughter, peppermint, and the scent of cinnamon swirling in the air. But beneath that cozy glow, something felt off. I looked down at Maya, my daughter, sitting quietly, her face calm, no tears, no meltdown. Just this slow blink, like she's trying to decode some hidden message. And then that little nod, almost invisible but enough to shake me to my core. I knelt, hands trembling. "You did nothing wrong," I whispered, voice barely holding together. Her response, "Maybe next year," felt like a ghost whispering promises to a future that might never come. Caleb's jaw clenched so tight I thought it'd crack, his eyes fixed on some distant point. No one spoke. No one said what needed saying. It was like the air was heavy with secrets, and no one wanted to lift the weight. Isn't it wild how silence can scream? That look in Maya's eyes, resigned, already hardened. What's really underneath all those polite smiles? And me? I kept telling myself I had to stay calm, to keep peace, but inside, there was this storm, a deep, raw anger bubbling up, at Margot, at everyone too afraid to face what's real. Later, Maya slipped away into the corner, clutching her teddy, shoulders tense, eyes glued to the floor. She never asked why, never reached out, fake smiles glued onto her face. And I wondered, how many of us learn to hide the truth? To shove it deep down, because confronting it means risking everything. That moment, that silence, that's where real stories hide. Secrets kept by choice, or maybe just fear. And I knew Caleb had seen enough. What will it take to break that silence? Or is this the beginning of something that can finally change? Because deep inside, I believe every hidden truth holds the power to finally set us free. The house was dead silent, like someone hit pause on life itself. After the last dish was rinsed, the wine poured, and the awkward goodnights hung heavy in the air, Caleb and I slipped into the guest room and shut the door behind us. Maya was already tucked in, barely more than a silhouette against her blankets, clutching her stuffed fox, the one she carries everywhere, like a talisman. She didn't ask for stories or a call to Santa, just lay there, staring at the ceiling as if decoding some silent message. I sat beside her, rubbing her back gently, feeling her breaths slow. "Mom," she whispered softly. I swallowed, heart pounding, and forced myself to keep calm. "Yeah, baby? Do you think maybe she didn't know I was coming?" Her voice was small, fragile. I clenched my jaw, tasting the hardness of my own silence. "No, sweetheart. She knew." I paused, realizing how much that simple sentence concealed. "Oh." A pause, then softly. "Maybe she just doesn't know me yet?" I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood. That's what I told her. Something that sounded like hope, but maybe it was denial. "That might be it," I whispered. "But none of this is your fault." I reached for her, voice cracking. "Do you hear me?" She turned her face into the pillow, silent. And just then, Caleb was in the doorway, holding something in his hand. He didn't speak right away, just looked at Maya, then at me, then down at the envelope in his grasp. "I'm done," he said finally, voice low but steady. His face was calm, no shouting, no shaking, just unshakable resolve. "What's that?" I asked, voice trembling. He stepped forward and handed me a manila folder. Inside, a notarized legal document, an updated will, a trust, the formal record of Maya's adoption. "She's not just our daughter by love," Caleb said softly. "She's our daughter in every legal way. I added her to everything. House, savings, insurance, the family trust. She's my daughter, every way the law recognizes." I stared at him, stunned. "You did all this?" I managed, voice trembling. He nodded, eyes steady. "I started the paperwork months ago. I wanted to make it official, cover every base." His words hit me like a punch. I'd known he loved her, but this was different. It was the law finally sealing what we'd always known deep in our hearts. My knees felt weak. All the weight I'd been carrying, everything I'd feared, suddenly felt lighter, sharp, and real, and true. The rain tapping softly against the window seemed to echo the weight in the room. Maya sat stiffly, eyes fixed on the faint flicker of a candle's flame, feeling like the shadows everywhere were listening. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken truths. Caleb's voice finally cracked the stillness, low but unwavering. "So, what are you going to do with it?" He glanced at the clock. Midnight, then grabbed his coat and stood, quiet but firm. I'm going to show her exactly who Maya is. I didn't try to stop him, didn't tell him to hold back. I just nodded, sinking into the bed as I listened, the creak of the front door opening, then closing behind him. I had no idea what she thought, whether she'd expect a lecture or a fight, or maybe just silence. But the last thing she expected was the folder in his hand. He walked through her house, the place he'd called home, the whispers of childhood echoing in the walls, and took a seat at her kitchen table. Calm but serious, he spoke. I'm not here to yell. I'm not here for apologies. He slid the folder across the wood. Thick, real, loaded. This is Maya's name. Everywhere it matters. If you choose to pretend she's not family, that's your call. But if you do, I won't be your son anymore. His eyes found hers, steady. I won't raise my daughter in a home where she's just a guest. She tried to speak, something sharp, dismissive, but he cut her off gently. I've seen how Maya claps at her cousin's birthdays, how she hugs her grandma's neck and Maya's fingers hover over the box, heart pounding. The dim kitchen light casts flickering shadows, making everything feel heavy, like we're all holding our breath. Margot's words still hang in the air, blunt and raw. The silence grows thick, almost suffocating as Caleb stands there with that guarded look, eyes flickering with secrets he's been holding back. Suddenly, Margot's mask slips. Her vulnerability cracks through her usual bluntness. Her voice is low, almost trembling. "Can I come in?" she asks, standing smaller than usual. No ribbons on the wrapped box she carries, just plain silver paper. Caleb steps over, kneeling beside Maya, placing the gift in front of her. Her gaze fixed on the box, hesitant. Margot speaks again, voice tired, sincere. I was wrong. Family isn't just blood. It's love. She's finally admitting what's been buried. Her detachment, her fears of loss, maybe even her shame. Maya unwraps the gift, revealing watercolor supplies, professional paints, a sketchbook, a simple card. Her lips move as she reads silently. Then she looks at Margot. With quiet courage, she asks, "You want me to draw you something?" Tears fill Margot's eyes. "I'd like that very much," she whispers. No dramatic speeches, no tears, just a straightforward, "okay." That gentle word carries more weight than 100 declarations, a fragile thread pulling them closer again. As Margot leaves, silence settles, thick with unspoken truths. I turn to Caleb. He's calm, no triumph, no sighs of relief. Just a long breath, a quiet acknowledgement of how delicate hope can be. "Do you think it'll last?" I ask, voice uncertain. He shrugs, eyes distant. "Maybe, but it's a start." That night, before bed, Maya grabbed her new sketchbook. She drew a little girl holding hands with two taller figures, a man and a woman. Behind them, a house sat beneath a big tree. In the sky, she drew a sun with a big, smiling face. She titled it, Home. She showed Caleb, who kissed her forehead softly. "That's exactly what we are," he whispered, a quiet promise between them. A few days later, after unpacking from a long drive home, a small envelope appeared in the mailbox. No return address, just Margot's careful handwriting. Inside was an old photo, Caleb at 5, holding his mother's hand. On the back, Margot had written, "Family is who you fight for. I see that now. Thank you for fighting for her. I didn't expect a miracle. I still don't." Margot's stubborn pride fit her like a second skin, shaped by years of rigid definitions of family. But facing that line she refused to cross, calculated and unyielding, she finally had to choose. Caleb didn't shout. He didn't threaten or shame her. He simply laid down the truth, who Maya was and who she'd always be. Margot chose Maya. That choice shifted everything. When someone truly sees your child, not as someone to accept, but as someone to cherish, the weight you've carried quietly lifts. That Christmas didn't explode in fireworks or tears. It ended softly, with a paintbrush in Maya's hand and Margot learning to become a grandma. That was enough. On the drive back, we didn't need words. No tension, just peace, the kind that comes after a storm, after something big has passed. We arrived a little different, a little stronger. Maya fell asleep in the back seat, her sketchbook on her lap. I glanced back and saw the family holding hands, now, with a tiny new figure in the middle. The woman with silver hair stood quietly beside us, just close enough to feel like a part of the picture but never quite at its heart. I didn't need to ask who she was. Something inside me already knew. When we finally got back home, life just picked up again. School resumed, Caleb went back to work, and Maya, she still painted every afternoon at the kitchen table. Her pages filled up with animals, trees, and these little girl figures that looked a lot like her, as if she was trying to recreate herself over and over. One day, she drew a fox sitting at a tiny table, a teacup balanced perfectly in its paws. I asked about it, and she just smirked softly and said, "That's Grandma. She's learning." Maybe that's what stuck with me. Not that Margot magically changed overnight, or that everything was suddenly perfect. No. But that Maya, despite the rejection, still gave her space to try, to love again, even when she'd been made to feel invisible. Kids forgive in ways adults often can't. They somehow find a way to leave the door cracked open. I keep replaying that moment in Margot's living room. The sharpness of her voice, the heavy silence afterward, the weight of not standing up when I should have. How many times had I told myself peace was more important than pain? That sweeping stuff under the rug somehow made everything okay? That day, I learned otherwise. Peace without truth. It's just pretending. And pretending cost Maya her sense of belonging, her belief that she mattered to her family, to all of us. That feeling of being loved, that trust, that's what I'd never risk losing again. Things have shifted, slowly, not always gracefully. Margot calls more now, asks about Maya's art, sends little handwritten cards, sometimes awkward, yeah, but genuine. The last one made me smile. It said, "I'm proud of how you see the world. You've made mine bigger, and that's enough for now." It's not about erasing the past. It's about finally being honest. When Margot shows up now, she doesn't just bring gifts. She brings effort. And maybe that's what finally matters. Under the dull glow of a kitchen light, the scent of cookies, the sweet and the sharp, wafts in the air. Maya's tiny hand clutches a crinkled photograph, her eyes impossibly wide, staring at faces blurred by time and distance. The soft hum of rain whispers against the window, matching the nervous hitch in her breath. She whispers softly to herself, hopes tangled up in silent pleas. She's seen love slip through her fingers like water, her family's rejection etched deep inside, whispering that she doesn't belong. It's like watching her life happen in slow motion, each moment packed with ache. Why does love feel so hard to find? Why does she feel invisible, even in the room? Watch her, hopeful, patient, trusting, trying to reach through the shadows of abandonment. And then, the scene shifts. Caleb stands in the doorway, shadowed but steady, caught between protecting Maya and confronting family secrets. Margot dismisses, detached, pretending her feelings don't matter. The past looms large, silent, unspoken, but something's changing. The quiet, the hesitance, maybe even defiance, begins to crack. This isn't just a story about family, it's about the scars we carry and the courage to face them. The truth, soft yet unyielding, waits in moments like these, moments when silence says everything, and the truth finally breaks free. Through hope, patience, and the right words, maybe, just maybe, her story isn't ending here. Maybe it's just beginning to turn a corner. Maya stands at the edge of the dimly lit living room. Her breath catches as Margot dismissively brushes off her questions, like she's invisible. Caleb steps forward, torn, finally ready to break the silence. A heavy pause settles. A thick, unspoken truth hangs in the air. Then Margot's cold veneer cracks. A flicker of regret, wounded and raw, emerges. Maya's eyes flood, tears spilling not just from pain, but relief. She's seen. She's heard. Finally, understood. The ache of years melts away in that moment. The truth surfaces, fragile but real. And in that raw, trembling space, belonging feels just a step closer. Maybe love, maybe acceptance, maybe both, is finally within reach.